You're watching the Lenoir-Rhyne Bears Football Weekly Press Luncheon with head football coach Ian Shields.
It was a great week last week. Homecoming went well. It was great to see a bunch of faces back here and meet a bunch of Bears at all the different outings. And it was great to see the connection of our alums to our current program. It was a fun weekend, culminated by obviously a win for us on the field. A hard-fought victory, I should add. I thought North Greenville played an exceptional game. I thought Coach Farrington had his team ready to play in every facet, and they gave us quite a challenge. We got off to an early lead in some adverse conditions when the weather hit, some torrential downpours there, and we managed that quite well. I was pleased with our offensive efficiency in the first half. To not have the ball on the ground in those conditions is a challenge sometimes, and so our fundamentals associated with football were excellent there in the first half. Offensively and defensively, we did a nice job in the first half. I think coming out of halftime, we talked to our guys about the scoreboard being a lie, and it's back to 0-0 again. But I wasn't pleased with how we played in that second half. We have a lot of improvement to do if we want to get where we're going to go. We need to play better. We need to play better fundamentally, offensively, defensively. I thought our kicking game was sound. There's a couple big plays in the kicking game that were really advantageous for us. We continue to punt the ball very well. Mikey DeStevens is doing a nice job. One of the bigger plays in the game early on was punting it down to the 1 yard line or inside the one, and then our defense turns it around with a quick safety. So there's a lot of good efforts and good work being done. But when you look back at how that game ended, I don't think it ended with our guys didn't end with a great taste in our mouth. And that being said, every victory is hard-earned. Every team has good players and good coaches with good schemes. But I think, and our players would attest that we're capable of playing better. And so going forward, that's the challenge. Again, looking back last week, there were some great efforts. I thought our offensive line played exceptionally well. Starting with Joe Ray. Joe Ray won our heavy hitter award. Joe had close to 20 knockdowns on the day, I think, and we count our knockdowns. Our offensive line had close to 70 knockdowns between the 5 of them. That's a lot of guys getting blocked and getting blocked well. Chris Robinson continued to perform at a high level, a B-back for us. He is a force. He's excellent with the ball in his hands. You can see he can finish a run, make a guy miss, has excellent feet. And that was a big touchdown there in the fourth quarter. To stretch the lead out to 31-7, I believe, at that point. So Chris is playing well. Gerard Spears, again, had a breakout game for him this year. We all know it's there waiting. But again, Gerard, to have 2 backs over 100 yards, that's a good day at the office. So both those guys played well, and a lot of guys contribute to that for that to happen. Obviously, they're not doing it by themselves. Up front, Blake Baker played a whale of a game defensively. He's hard to block. Put a lot of pressure on the quarterback, even when he wasn't, officially getting a sack. He was there a lot. Jordan Forney continues to progress as a linebacker. Our run defense is excellent. I think we struggled in the secondary, and I'm not. And that being said, I thought Collis Clark performed admirably for Joe Anderson at corner. Collis came in and played a whale of a game at corner. Did a super job. Also had a big-time interception for us in the end zone, which was nice. So O'Neill's playing well at corner. I think our safeties are capable of playing better. Our outside linebackers are capable of playing better and covering better. And we had some coverage breakdowns that led to scores. So with that, you have to give a tip of the hat to the quarterback from North Greenville and those receivers, because some of those throws he was making, you just can't defend. And you got to tip your hat and say, well done. And they nailed us on a couple calls as well on a screen or two. So again, good game plan, good execution by North Greenville, and there's some things we can learn from going forward, and it's always nice to learn and go forward with another victory. So transition on to Newberry, another talented foe here in the SAC. You're talking about a team that was 9-3 a year ago, a playoff team. I have a lot of good players back off that team, and they just happen to lose some close games this year. They're as physically talented or more talented than anything we played to date. They're playing very well on defense. They're ranked right up there with us defensively, nationally. They're doing a tremendous job. They're physical. They're fast. I'd say they're rougher than a sandpaper toilet seat. They're tough. So we'll have our work cut out for us with their defense. Obviously, offensively, with Merton back at quarterback, they got a lot of experience there. They got talent all over the place. They're big, they're physical, they're what you'd expect to see from a team that was, again, a playoff caliber football team. So it's a big challenge for us. Again, going back on the road, getting out of Hickory, traveling down to Newberry, playing on turf, playing in their house. Again, it's a big challenge for us, and we need to improve. We need to look in the mirror and get better if we want to keep this thing going. And I think this will be a good week of practice for us, and we should improve a great deal this week. With that being said, I'll open up to any questions either regarding last week with North Greenville or going forward here to Newberry.
Well, Coach, I don't know if it's pertinent to refer to preseason predictions right now, but Newberry was picked to finish third in the conference, and that was a long time ago. But I don't know, is this a team that just hasn't gelled, or what do you think?
Well, it's just hard to say. All I know is you turn on the tape, it's a talented football team. Only they know what the internal issues are there. But there's talent there, and they played well, and it's just one of those things that I hope they don't find their niche this week. Last week they had, that game at Tusculum was playing in worse weather than we played in here. It was a torrential downpour. Someone should have started building an ark over there. So it was, there's, you kind of almost throw that one out. It was so bad for both teams. There was 9 fumbles combined for all the teams. That there was 3 missed field goals. There was a lot of stuff that just the weather really affected that game. So I kind of throw that one out the window. And then you go back to the rest of them. And, Catawba, they lose in double overtime. Again, you're talking about a talented football team that's well coached, and they just haven't caught stride yet. They're certainly more than capable, and they got great players and great coaches there. So we'll need our best effort, and quite frankly, we'll need to play better because we didn't play well enough, in my opinion, last week.
Coach Farrington had talked early in the year that he was disappointed in his team last year in the third and fourth quarter. They seemed to die. This year in our game with them, they played strong all the way through the end of the game. And you talked about our team not satisfying you. From the offensive side, were you changing? Did you draw back like your playbook a little bit when they seemed to be stopping everything?
Well, there's a few things that happened there. Obviously, we had a commanding lead at that point, so we're trying to run some clock. The other thing is defensively, we had a hard time in the second half getting them off the field. We lost most of the third down battles, and we also had some penalties that kept drives alive in the second half on our defense. So that was more of an issue of our offense not being on the field because their offense was staying on the field. And they were making plays, and they converted, I think, 4 or 7 third down opportunities there in the second half. That makes it hard. They're getting more downs, and our offense is sitting over there on the sideline. So that was the real issue in the second half. But the scoreboard was to our favor, So we slowed the ball down and took, if you want to use a basketball phrase, took the air out of the ball a little bit there in the second half because the scoreboard, the clock dictated that. And like I said, at the end of the day, you're trying to get out of there with a victory. And you just need one more point than the opposition, which we had. I will say I thought North Greenville played exceptionally hard. They certainly didn't quit. And they turned on the gas, and they made every play that could be made down in the stretch, particularly in that fourth quarter. So hats off to them. And that's a young football team, and they're going to be a force to be reckoned with in the near future. And like I said, we're the only team that's beat them other than Wofford, and they're ahead of Wofford at halftime. So that's a good football team that we played, and we were just fortunate to get that commanding lead in the first half and hold on.
You mentioned O'Neill. He had a tough day with the official that was by him most of the day. I'm sure he'd probably say that. The last call where he got called going into the McCrory end of the stadium, he was really upset with what he felt like he was getting hit in the head. When you were there, what was he saying and what did the official say?
Well, there was a difference of opinions on what actually happened there, and the guy in the stripes gets the last word. It wasn't pass interference called on that particular play. It was a face mask called on that particular play, And if you know, O'Neal and I, we were both under the impression that their offender grabbed O'Neal's face mask, and I think it might have been seen the wrong way, and it's happening fast in real time, and the officials have a tough job. So that was that penalty, and but you know, it's part of the game. You know, rubbing's racing a little bit. You know, there's going to be, yeah, look, it's competitive, and guys are running each other, and it's happening at a high rate of speed, and it's hard to officiate.
Well, did those calls affect how our secondary players were covering?
No, I don't think so. I think where the balls were getting completed and where the big chunks were more down the middle and over the middle. And again, you tip your hat to Hughes, their quarterback, makes some phenomenal throws. The receivers made some big time plays. And I think we were just a step out of coverage for a time or two, either with our linebackers or underneath drops or our safeties, you know, behind them. You know, so between our linebackers, all of them, and our safeties, we'll need to have improved play because there's some things that showed up on tape there that certainly some other teams are going to try to emulate.
Like the screen, it kind of, with our pressure that we're getting, I mean, that seemed to be like a perfect call.
Well, yeah, they nailed us on the screen. And again, we take a calculated guess on where they're going, and we had a particular one called one way, and they nailed the call, and that's going to happen. You're playing good teams. The other coaches are getting paid too. You know, that's the reality of it. And they have some guys who can make some plays. On that particular screen, we missed 3 tackles. You know, I mean, we didn't tackle well in the secondary either. So, you know, there's some good tackling going on, don't get me wrong, but we can play better. You know, we can get better, we can get guys on the ground, we can tackle better defense than we have all season long. That was a challenge. They had some fast, talented guys, and it's slippery conditions out there. And that makes it tough. That makes it tough. But you tip your hat to them, and we'll go back to the drawing board, go back to school, and try and get a little fundamentally better this week.
Well, looking at Newberry, they're traditionally probably the across-the-board most talented team in the conference. They don't always, it doesn't show in the record always, but they have the components to stretch the field on both sides of the ball with using two very different quarterbacks. And then Romello Doctor was injured a lot of last year, but come back this year performing like he does. They've had to replace Corey Washington. How does our defensive staff look at them? And then they're always quick to the ball from the defensive side.
Yeah, they're a talented football team, and like I said, they were a playoff team a year ago, so they're used to winning. You know, for whatever reason, it hasn't happened yet this year, but this year's halfway there. So, like I said, we need to worry about ourselves to start with, and then go down to Newberry. And I think everyone in our locker room and in our coaching office has a tremendous respect for Newberry and what they bring to the table and the danger that they pose to us. And it's a challenge to go down there on the road and play at Newberry. So they are talented. They got a bunch of guys that have been around the block. They on defense, they're excellent. On offense, they're extremely talented and can move the ball and score a lot of points. So they're dangerous. You know, they're a dangerous football team, and like I said, we're aware of that, and we need to prepare. This is going to be a tough, hard-fought football game, and we know that, and we're expecting nothing less.
Coach, you're 6-0 at this point in the game, at this point in the season. What from the locker room standpoint, in terms of your older guys and your senior leaders, what are they talking to the younger guys about, and how has that I guess changed throughout the season as you guys continue to clip off wins? Well,
it doesn't. Our focus is on. We have to avoid all those distractions. Everyone talking about a national ranking or any record or anything other than trying to be 1-0 this week is borderline Taliban. You know, we can't listen to it, can't pay attention to it. It's poison. All that stuff's poison. If you drink it, it'll kill you. You know, we stay away from that. We avoid any of that and just keep our head down and go to work because there's a lot of good work left to be done. We got to stay focused on the present. Again, the most important game of the season is Newberry because it's the only one we get this week. You know, and anything else is a complete distraction to us and shouldn't be allowed around our program, quite frankly, or in our locker room.
probably be the most hostile environment that we see all year in a good way. I mean, Newberry is always very supportive. The stands, especially on their side, are very close to the field, and they sit in the end zone. How do you prepare for the outside distractions that could come about?
Well, for some of our veteran guys, they've been there and done that, and been through the conference and know, what the other environments are like. But we prepare. Our team will be prepared to go down in there, and we know it's going to be a hotly contested football game, and we know they have a rabid fan base down there as well. We're excited to get down there. You can see on the end zone, it's a great facility. They got a nice turf view. They got a beautiful fountain at one end. They got a graveyard at the other end. Okay, you got the Fountain of Youth. You got the other place on the other side. It's going to be fun. And we're playing right in the middle of it where life happens, right in the football field. So we're excited to get down there and play, and we're anxious to go meet them firsthand.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you. Hopefully some guys in Bear Nation travel down to Newberry, South Carolina, make the trip down there and watch the Bears play.